What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon. Can I say afternoon or can I say morning? It's 11 o'clock. It's one of those uncomfortable sort of, am I in the morning, am I in the afternoon sort of thing. Thanks to everybody for tuning in this morning. I'm so excited after much ado, or should I say much wait. We have actor James Quinn coming on the show today. Hails from Pennsylvania, and we're going to get into just a whole bucket load of all the different things that he's done, things that he's going to do. Very accomplished young man with a great sense of humor and just an incredible guy. So before I actually get to interviewing him, I don't want to forget a couple details. First of all, I sound like a raspy Demi Moore because I'm getting over my cold, so don't hate on me. I already know I sound like a guy, so let's hope that I can make it through the entire interview without sounding ridiculously masculine. Second of all, I wanted to remind everybody or anybody 3 different things I'm looking for. If you own or possess vintage furniture and you love me, you will call me or email me and let me know this because I need furniture for my shop, and I really don't want to pay for it. Second of all, I wanted to remind everyone, I know it's Mother's Day that I'm opening because I'm stupid and I can't read a calendar, but it is late in the day. It is 6 to 9 o'clock. There will be celebrity appearances there. I will be there, and Truffles will be there, and there will be live music. Could you ask for anything more? I don't think so. So, yes, I think you all should come out to the grand opening. Sin's Heart, Art, and Passion, a.k.a. CHAP, located 3760 80 Slayton Avenue. So definitely come and join us. Third of all, just a hint, or I should say a thumbs up to Jordan Hiller for all the incredible work he's done on our teaser video for the movie. Hopefully, with all anticipation, and by the time next weekend rolls along, we'll all be able to check that out firsthand for ourselves. So, go ahead to the Brazen Biker Babes page on Facebook. We haven't got a website established as of yet. This way you can check out all the developments, find out about my cast, and also see where we're at in terms of the video process, and then where we're at in terms of actual production for the movie. And then you can kind of follow our journey. Also, if you get a chance to, Behind Bars magazine has been very gracious to offer us space within the magazine and to promote our film and, of course, my cast and myself. So please make it a point to be able to find them on Facebook, and they're also on the web at behindbarsmagazine.com. I would appreciate any and all support you can give for that, as well as one of my new artists that I'm trying to get signed on for the film project, which is Billy Grimm. Or I should say, let me spell that out for you. I apologize because I assume that all of you know all of me and all of my friends, which you obviously don't all the time. So his name is Billy, and the last name is spelled Grima, and that's Grima. He happened to be yesterday's show guest as well, so we are hoping with any luck at all that we can get him signed on to the project for music. I am first and foremost a person who loves to promote musicians, so I'm always on the top of my game for looking for new people as far as actors, musicians, the whole 9 yards. So if you happen to know of anybody who might be interested in pursuing a project where they make no money and they get a lot of great exposure and hopefully in the film festival circuit, you found it because here I am. Again, Brazen Biker Babes. I can be reached on Facebook, of course. My name, first name Cindy, last name Mich. And, of course, you can always go to one of my show pages, either this Sin's Chat Corner page, the Brazen Biker Babes on Facebook, or you can email me directly. And that email, once again, is sin, C-I-N, 4251 @gmail.com. Now, because apparently our guest is running a little bit late, let me just kind of do the rundown on James. James, as I mentioned, is a Pennsylvania actor, an attendee of Baldwin High School. He has had the fortunate luck of meeting one of my favorite actors of all time, which I get to see in person next month. I'm so super excited. William Forsythe, who is going to be doing a production called The Networker movie, himself along with Sean Young, along with some of my friends from New York City, and of course directed by one of the all-time great independent filmmakers, John Gallagher. So very excited about that production. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about his merging with Dreamforge Films Productions to do things such as the Visionary World IndieCon. We're going to talk about some of the films that he's done, including, let's just take a look, he's been in The Dark Knight Rises, which all of us know, Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, Hell's Reckoning. He's also the writer, producer, and director of a project called Distant Mingle, along with other things such as Meltdown and The Other Side. So there's a whole lot of ground to cover this morning. So I'm just wanting to say thank you guys so much for listening in and finding out about James and all the things he's got to offer in the acting world. I see now that he's up in the queue, fortunately for all of us, so let's get him on the line and start talking. Down on the side. Is this James Quinn?
Hey, Cindy, good morning.
Hi, it's you. You're here. Hi.
I'm here. I was having some technical difficulties with the phone, but I think we're okay now, I hope.
At least I hope we are. And you know what? That's funny you say that, because when I actually called into my show this morning, I can hear this kind of in and out sort of thing. So I don't know if it's a blog talk radio thing or if it's a phone thing. It's weird. Very weird.
Yeah, it could be a phone thing for me on my end. Are you hearing me okay?
Well, I'm actually not hearing you okay. You're kind of like coming and going. Do you hear that patching kind of in and out?
I do, a little bit. Yeah, I'm hearing you pretty clear right now, but I don't know if it's coming from my end.
That's
weird.
Try you know what? Do you want to hang up
and,
you know what? Hang up, call me back again. I'll just keep talking to our audience, and you just call me back.
I'll be right back.
All right, dear. Bye. Okay, well, that was James Quinn for 35 seconds, so let's hope we can get him back. For some reason, and hopefully all you can hear me, when I called into the queue, it was difficult to try to hear things. It's frustrating because obviously we're trying to give a good quality production as it relates to the show, so we want everybody to be able to hear you and, of course, to be able to hear James. He is the star of the show today, so I would feel very badly if you're not getting each and every bit of information he's giving to you. And then, of course, you can listen to him babble and not me, because obviously my voice is crackling and going today, so I think I'm going to have to nurse it with less talking after this interview. So we'll see. I want to throw this out to the listening audience, which is one of the things I'm going to ask James because he's an actor. And I also threw this up on my wall. Certainly open to suggestions or comments as it relates to the big Robert Downey Jr. thing. Everybody seems to be talking about the man himself promoting the Avengers on his tour. And he's interviewed by a British journalist who, and I understand this guy's point of view because I'm a journalist myself. So he gets a chance to sit down and he gets his 5-10 minutes with Robert Downey. And basically, he asked him about a comment he made in an interview before that talked about, of course, his past history with drugs and alcohol. And, of course, he was candid and he answered the first question talking about the quote he made years ago. And then it seemed as though the British journalist kind of wanted to push the issue to talk about his addiction problems. And that point, basically, that's when he got up and walked out. He wasn't crappy. He didn't hit anyone. He wasn't insulting. But my question to you as the public audience is, what's your take on that? Do you think it's okay for a celebrity to be offended like that and just say, I'm done? So let me know your thoughts. All right, we have James back in the queue. Let's see if we can hear him any better now. Hello?
Cindy, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're so much better now. Okay, good. So this will work out better for both of us because now you sound like you and I can hear you. So hi.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, well, I have less of a voice than I'd like, which kind of sucks because we derailed this for a week. I had some issues last week, and we finally get you on the air, and I sound like a really raspy Demi Moore.
It's funny you say that because about 3 days before we were originally supposed to do the other interview, I had the same thing going on. I was like, oh, man, I'm not going to have a voice, and it came back. Yeah.
So now you're sounding perfectly good, and I'm not sounding perfectly good. Well, we'll mull through it. Hopefully my material and my content is as such where people will just not listen to the fact that I have no voice, and they'll just listen to me, and they'll listen to you, which is
you
what
sound
this show is all
you
about.
sound good on my end, Cindy.
Thank you. Well, wonderful. Okay, well, good. Well, let's get to it. But the first thing I want to talk about are two things that are kind of relative but not relative. First of all, I told everybody I was going to ask you your take on this because you're an actor. So I'm not really an actor yet. They're trying to make me an actor in my own film. Not sure that's going to happen, but okay. So actor take on this. I'm just curious because I'm sure you watch this sort of stuff. We're talking about the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing. What's your take on that? Do you think he was justified in walking out on that interview he did? I'm assuming you know about this. Is that a good thing for an actor to do?
I actually am not that educated on that. I didn't hear anything about it.
Serious?
I know
All right,
it sounds bad, but I know it's almost like I've been so busy that I didn't pay attention to anything.
That's okay. Robert Downey Jr. is one of my personal favorites. He's one of my... Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. So he was being interviewed by a British journalist, and of course he's on this big press junket for the Avengers movie that's coming out. So, of course, everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame with Robert Downey. So a British journalist was interviewing him. And at the beginning, the first 2 minutes or so, he had quoted Robert Downey Jr. from an interview he did years ago where he was talking about change as it was relative to learning from his experiences as being an addict. So the journalist kind of led into, well, if you don't mind kind of sticking on to that subject, he asked and kind of pressed the issue about his drug and alcohol past. At that point, Robert Downey took off the microphone. He got up. He handed it to the girl that was there. He wasn't crappy, but he just got up and just said one little comment or whatever have you off the record and kind of walked out. He wasn't crappy about it, but he did walk out. So I've been asking people, so what's your take on that? Was he justified in walking out of that interview, or should he have had to suck it up because it's public knowledge that he was such an addict for such a long time?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, I'd love to see the interview just to see, because I mean, it depends on how the interview was conducted. I know there was a similar thing that went on with Mike Tyson not too long ago. And,
okay.
You know, I mean, his past is public knowledge, but I believe he's gotten past that, and he probably just didn't want to talk about it. Maybe he was being poked at too much, you know. It's tough to say. That could be a little bit of fault on both ends. I personally love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. I'm actually very happy to see, you know, how he has cleaned things up so much. So I'm sure he wants to leave the past in the past, and I can understand his frustration there.
Sure. And that tends to ask the obvious question, because, again, you're an actor. How important, or I guess the better way to phrase this is this: are actors entitled some sense of privacy? Because there are some out there that say to themselves and to the public, you know what, I have a right to have a public and a private life. And some people feel that once you're in the public eye, you signed up for that, so whatever goes out, goes out. Do you follow me?
Yeah, it's so hard, because it is. I mean, you know, once you are in the eye like that, you know, everything is common knowledge. There's nothing to hide anymore. And in his case, he probably wasn't trying to hide it. You know, I think that they probably could have been a little classier about how they interviewed him. You know, I think they do take cheap shots at celebrities a lot just to see if they can get that reaction out of them. And that was a tough place to be.
Definitely. I agree with you.
As an actor, you know, I think, yeah, it's probably always bad if you get up and walk out. It, you know, it really doesn't look good for you. And by the same token, you know, they could have been a little more classy.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. You betcha. Really now, one of the excuse me, I'm sorry. One of the first places that I want to go with you or talk about with you, and I have a very, very lucky. My life is very blessed, and then I get an opportunity to talk to various different actors. And one of the things that I find refreshing about you personally, and folks, you should know this firsthand about him, is his sense of positivity. Because most people that aren't in this business do not understand how much there is the ongoing competition, rejection, the need and the desire by many people to keep pushing forth despite the fact you get shot down constantly. You're having to reinvent yourself, rejuvenate yourself. And James Quinn has a sense of positivity that's unlike many others that I see in the business. You're always talking about going to the next audition, going to the next place. You never belittle yourself in terms of, oh, I just have this little role or this little role. Everything's important to you. Everything is tweaked to your satisfaction, and you never give up. And that's very inspiring. I'm not sure you get that, but it's true. My question to you is, how do you – oh, you're quite welcome. How do you purge forth with such positivity in an arena that just beholds such anti-actor, for lack of a better way to, I don't know how else to put it than that. I think the industry kind of sets you up for a lot of that. So how do you rise above all of that in the manner that you do?
Well, it's hard to say, but I'm doing what I want to do for a living. I'm doing what I love. You know, and sometimes it takes people a long time in life to get to the place where they are doing something that they want to do. I think you have to go through things in life first that knock you down, you know, maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000 times before you get a chance to finally excel at something you love. And I think that's the case with me. You know, outside of being an actor, I've also gone through, you know, turmoil and things in the past where things didn't work out. And finally things are going the direction I want them to in life. And, you know, that's a positive thing for me. So every day that I get to go out and audition or be on set or be a different character, you know, I love it. And that's just something that you have to take the positive from it, even if you don't get a part or, you know, maybe the day didn't go the way you wanted to. It's still probably better than most days and that most people are having, because not everybody gets to do what we're doing, and that's, you know, that's truly.
Oh, certainly. Definitely. Now, again, a lot of these questions oftentimes that I put together are ones that I take for granted that most people that listen are either trying to get into the business or know nothing about it. So let's talk from the actor side of things. So here's James Quinn, and he's going to an audition. As most young budding actors or even veteran actors, obviously you all have to audition at some point unless you're, the stars of the world. So my question to you is this. If you look back 5 years ago as compared to today, the audition process, for you personally, what do you feel is most integral? What have you changed about your process and procedure when you get to an audition 5 years ago to today that you feel is integral that gets you the parts that you get now? What have you changed about yourself and what you do in that first process to seal the deal?
Well, 5 years ago to today, 5 years ago I would have gone to an audition, picked out the script, and just started reading as was, for a character. And what I've learned over the years now is that you have to really put a little bit of yourself into that character. Whether it's a cold read or they send you the sides ahead of time, you have to let a little bit of you come out. Otherwise, it just comes off to the auditioner that you're just reading from paper, or you're not really that character. So I think if you show a little bit of yourself in everything you do, and it's kind of a fine line because you have to be that character and you have to put a little bit of you into it. But I think that makes for the best deal. Ultimately, they have to see a little bit of you come out, and they have to see whether you're positive or you're negative, or if the part calls for being outgoing. Then you need to go up and above, and not just read, because they can tell. They can see things when you're at an audition that this guy's just going through the motions. He doesn't really care. We don't see any of him in the part, and I had to learn from that myself, because once you do that, the parts will start coming to you. You just have to gain your confidence and feel it out, like anything else in life.
Oh, of course, certainly. One of the things that's been brought to my attention, and we talk about this a lot, my friends and myself, even necessarily not on the show, do you feel, in your personal opinion as an actor now, from a director's standpoint, do you think oftentimes we've discussed the subject of sincerity versus sensationalism? Do you think directors nowadays are casting appropriately based on the sentiment and sincerity that an actor brings? Or are they looking for somebody who just brings more sensationalism to a character? And some people go on the merits of what you see is what you get versus they need to be the over-the-top sensational. Follow me?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's all based on the director. I do think that personally, having done a little bit of directing and then having been in front of directors quite a bit, that they do look for sincerity. Right. They do look for commitment to the part. And so, like I said, it kind of goes back to going through the motions again. But I personally, from my own opinion, I think that sincerity is key.
Okay. That's kind of what I figured too. And I've gotten that, because I just started casting my first film, and I've, you try to weed out and get to the core of someone. And sometimes some actors, I think, can be, would you consider yourself a guarded actor? Meaning that you'll only allow 75% of yourself to come out. And I think some actors just keep the rest of that inside just for the screen to see.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a safe assessment. Again, like I said, the part of you has to come out in order to do that, but it can't be all you. It has to be the character, too. So, yeah, they're not seeing all of you, but they might be seeing 60 to 75% of you. I'd say that's a safe assessment.
Oh, wonderful. Good deal. We're on the same page then. That's awesome. Okay, now before we talk about, your career and you and how absolutely fabulous you are, I have to, on a very serious note, ask an extremely important question, because this has been hindering on my mind since the last week. So, any complications after the hernia surgery? Are you okay? Because I saw you laid up in a bed, and I saw all these people concerned about you. So we want to do a status check and make sure you're going to be able to act for 60 more years.
Yeah, you know what? As of right now, I'm 100%. I've been released for full duty. I did have a minor setback.
Yay.
Thank you for asking. About 3-4 weeks into it, I probably did aggravate the surgery, but I did not re-herniate. And for me, I guess it took a little bit longer because I had what they call a quadruple hernia surgery. So I thought I was getting 3, I went in and got 4. So I think that's what took a little more time to recoup. But, yeah, I feel 100% again, like myself. It's just sometimes it's a long road to recovery. I'm back acting, and I feel great. I appreciate it.
Oh, my gosh. Well, absolutely wonderful. Well, that's how we are on this show. I know a lot of times it's so funny, too, because oftentimes I talk to other people in the media, and they I think it's important that if you're going to interview somebody, I could read off a bunch of stuff off your IMDb, but that doesn't really tell me who James Quinn is. My job is to find out who you are, and then your listening audience finds out who you are. And I think if they find out who you are, they'll embrace you as a person, which means they'll embrace you as an actor. Maybe I'm a little delusional, but that's just my take on it.
No, I'm hopeful.
That's why I like what I do.
Like I said, I really appreciate that. It's always nice to get to know the person.
Oh, of course, obviously, because otherwise you're just another actor. And you're obviously not just another actor, but all of you listening are about to find out why he's just not an actor. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about young James Quinn. So here you are, and you're attending Baldwin High School, as you were at one point in time. And then you say to yourself one morning, did you wake up and it was a news revelation, hey, I'm going to be an actor next week? Or did you just start tooling around the house and making your own productions? Tell me a little bit about inspiration behind the initiative to becoming an actor. Where'd that come from?
But it's actually funny. I did in grade school. I would do the school plays on occasion, and I really had fun with them. And in high school, you know, during Baldwin High School, like you say, I got the opportunity to do some extra work in some films, such as Sudden Death and Inspector Gadget right after. And you know, and I had a lot of fun with that. I mean, in the commercials, but there wasn't anything serious yet. But yet the itch was already there. I knew that I really enjoyed being in front of the audience. But, you know, having grown up in Pittsburgh, we didn't have as many opportunities back then. And technology, of course, isn't what you see today in terms of communication and being able to land roles at a moment's notice via text, email, or whatnot. So I did get away from a long time, actually from 1998 until 2011 when I returned. And I got the itch one day to go back when I saw the open casting call for The Dark Knight Rises. And I knew it's something that I really, you know, wanted to get back into, but hadn't had an opportunity in a long time, or the timing wasn't right. But I'd been thinking about it for months and months leading up to that. And once I had that first audition under my belt, it was just, the fever was there again, and I just couldn't stop. And, you know, and at first, you know, sometimes you do well, and then you get told no a lot. And so, yeah, it can be discouraging, but once you get into a groove, and then that's what it was for me. I got into a groove, and things were working out great. And one audition led to another, and, you know, it's a little bit of a sickness engulfs you, and you can't wait to do another one. And, you know, being on set, to me, being able to escape, you know, into a world where you can be anybody you want, it's intoxicating. And being able to, you know, bring a character to life, or, you know, bring somebody's vision to life. I mean, it's just, I can't get enough of it personally. So I did have a major gap, and I didn't know that I'd actually be coming back to the business one day. I was hopeful, and now that I am, I just don't see me ever stopping.
Well, and the interesting part about that is too, a lot of times I think that when a creative discovers from early on that they know that that's what they want, it's almost like a drive that just drives you, so to speak. In the beginning, it's just like a small flame, and then it just ignites and goes and goes and goes. Excuse me. And
oh, for sure.
I find it interesting how some people just, you always know, and I've noticed this with not just actors, with painters, with musicians, you might get away from it for years and years, because I did for a number of years. I wrote for a long time, and writing's my passion. I'm not doing it. I have kids, I have this. And then when you come back to it, it's almost as if you want it twice as much as when you first started out, if that makes sense. At least in my case. And I do notice that. Definitely. I think that it's something that, you know, once you've determined that that's what your niche is, and you find out a way and a means to do it, you'll do it no matter what you have to do, whether you got to work 3 jobs to make it happen, or whether you just get away from it and come back to it and all that good stuff. No, I cannot forget to ask this, because you said the keyword, The Dark Knight Rises. So if you watched it on Facebook, my children were very specific to say, Mom, all they wanted to know about James Quinn, doesn't matter who you are, just, does he know Batman? Did he meet him? Because, you know, they know The Dark Knight Rises. And, of course, they've seen it, and they're like, does he know Batman? And I'm like, okay, Kerwin, I'm going to ask the $1,000,000 question. Did you meet Batman? Was he cool? Does he fly?
I was extremely fortunate enough to meet Batman, yes. Briefly, I guess, to work around him for a fight scene. But, yeah, I didn't. I mean, I could tell you what a great opportunity it was for me to be around him, you know. I'm sure they couldn't tell you who I am. I didn't have like a huge role in the film, but just to be a part of it, I was so happy to be there in Gotham City. And around, you know, Christian Bale, who plays Batman, is just an amazing actor, and he's constantly in character, so you don't want to take away from that. You don't want to interrupt. But the fact that he would take the time to say hi was amazing.
Oh, that's absolutely awesome. You know, because I hear... I've heard some things about him. It's interesting because, again, from a personal standpoint, he said some ghosts in the closet that they talk about and all that good stuff. And then I saw an article about him 6 months or 8 months ago where he, without the press, and this is what I find impressive, he just didn't tell the press he was doing this, and he went to a hospital to visit kids or visit somebody or something, and it wasn't on the radar. He did it on purpose, not telling the media that he did this, and I thought that was so inspirational. He's on my wish list. I have this huge wish list, and, it's kind of like Wendy Williams when she says, like, they're my best friend in my head. Well, I have interviewees in my head. Like, Bruce Willis is my husband. He just doesn't know it. Kiefer Sutherland is my husband, and he doesn't know it. And then I have some of these,
one of my all-time favorites.
Like personal favorites. Like, let's just talk about this one, James, because I still am hating you in my head because I posted you up yesterday with your picture. OMG. Okay. You have met one of my favorite actors that I've dreamed of meeting, and I get to meet him next month. OMG on the radar. You went to a horror fest, and you met William Forsythe. You're standing right there next to him.
I did. He was awesome. It was absolutely a privilege. My daughter and myself both got to meet him.
Oh, my God. I, want to cry just looking at him. I'm like, oh, my God. I feel like he's going to pull a gun out, though, and shoot me because, every time you see him, he's like a bad guy. And I'm like, are you going to try to kill me? Because I'm like, he always looks so mean. He always has that look. Don't look at me. Don't eyebrow me. And I'm like, oh, my God. And here you go to this horror rom-com.
Truly a class act, Cindy.
He does.
One of the nicest people you can meet,
Have you ever met, well, you probably have never met John Gallagher then. John Gallagher, the independent filmmaker?
I haven't had an opportunity.
Here's what I'm going to do for you because I like you, James Quinn, but he's going to kill me when I say these things on air. So don't kill me, John Gallagher. I interviewed John Gallagher recently. You should listen to that interview. Let me tell you why. I don't know how much you know about me, James Quinn, but what I do know is that New York is my second home, and I have family there, and I have a lot of friends who are actors there and film directors, and John Gallagher has done probably some of the best independent filmmaking. And he has a film that's coming out, and I just interviewed him a month ago. It's called The Networker. The Networker stars Sean Young, William Forsythe, a bunch of the same actors, Vincent, the whole nine yards, some of the Soprano guys. And he's an amazing filmmaker, and he's one of the most down-to-earth. He knows probably the most I know of. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your information, and I'm going to say to him, hey, please, John Gallagher, the next time you cast a film, just give my boy James Quinn just let him have a read, let him have something. I will beg. I'll probably turn in a few favors. And he was very gracious enough to allow me. Oh, of course. He sent me an invite to the Networker premiere. And so we talked about this because, of course, I had a heart attack on the air, and I'm like, I will give up $500 or I don't know what I'll give up, but basically I'll beg to interview William Forsythe. And he's like, we're just going to make that happen. And then he invites me to this Networker thing. And then he says to me, just get a hold of the producer guy and tell him you want a live interview with him, Forsythe. And I'm like, oh, my God. So we're working on me going to New York City to interview him, in front of my face. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this, James Quinn, because I can't talk. I mean, I don't think I can talk in front of this person.
He's very, very personable. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Right?
What a class act.
Seriously?
He's one of the nicest guys
really?
I've ever met. Yeah.
My God.
I think that's an interview you're going to enjoy, and I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to do that.
Well, and it's exciting. And
He's
I'm
done
not
so
just
many great films.
Sean Young. Oh, and right?
Oh, yeah,
on the flip side, I've watched Sonya Young in No Way Out. I've seen her in Cousins. I've watched her in so many different productions. I love her style. I love her charisma. I love what she brings to a camera because she's not the typical actress, in my opinion. I was a little irritated. I saw what the public and social media did with some interview that somebody did, and I don't like actors being torn down, and I don't care if I personally met them or not. I just don't think it's classy. You use your product to promote, not to punish. And I'm a huge advocate for that. And when people get torn down in the media, it disturbs me greatly. So I'm very excited about that. Now, since we're on the celebrity meeting factor, let's talk a little bit about the other people you've met. Hello, another person I want to interview. In my head, I've already interviewed him, Henry Winkler, a.k.a. The Fonz, who's here in Milwaukee. Got a bronze statue downtown of him. What's that like to be walking around with the Fonz? Hello?
Oh, another class act. The Fonz is definitely one of my all-time favorites. Does it get any cooler than the Fonz?
Right?
I have a coffee mug
oh my
here in my house with a picture of me and the Fonz on it.
So jealous. so jealous. I'm like, OMG, he's gotten to do that. And I tweeted him once, like a long time ago, like, Henry, I'd love to interview because I live in Milwaukee. And, you know, the whole Laverne and Shirley thing and all that stuff. And I've watched him embrace some of the many roles he's done after the fact. And so for me, he's not just the Fonz anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? I've watched him envelop his talent and his character. And for me, I've always said, and I want to get your take on this, William Forsythe is a classic example. And when I told John Gallagher this, he's like, you have to tell him this in person. I truly believe the actor in James Quinn is the man that I saw 5 years ago, plus the man I saw today. Everything you are now stems from what you were. And I know that doesn't make sense to everyone, but I can't just watch a man like William in Gotti and say, this is the best he is right now. No, it was a cumulative from here all the way to here. And I think some of the best came from back there to here. Do you know what I'm saying? Makes sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of what
So
he is today was developed from being there.
Well,
I'm sorry?
Correct. So I ask you yourself, do you think that that could be held true for yourself in terms of, could I go back 5 years ago and pick apart and say, all right, this element of him is still part and parcel of the character he plays right now and contributes to you being a better character now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every part that I've done in the past 5 years is attributed to who I am today and is developed into, you know, the characters I can reach into today. Having to become those characters in the past that you weren't before, you know, helps your development process.
Okay.
I think you're absolutely right on the money about that.
And I do want to say this much as far as that goes, and I always like to get into the actor's process, et cetera, in terms of how you prepare for things. So let's say in an audition, a lot of times, are you the type of person that we will find that's more like you were referencing Christian Bale? When you're in character, you stay in character. Some folks have a harder time when they leaving the character on set. Would you say that that's more likely less you? Meaning, are you able to go home and say, okay, here I am, family man now, I'm dad, I'm husband, and that was just my day job? Or is it really all of you all of the time?
No, you know what? I think for me, and me personally, I only speak about myself specifically, is that I can pop in and out of character. It's something that I think I need to do. Now, when I'm in character, I'm fully, you know, committed to that character. But I think you need to also take a break from that, at least from my own standpoint, in order to maintain. Because I think if I stay in character too long, I eventually go over something over and over and over again, I'm going to mess it up. And that's just been my own personal experience. So what I like to do is I like to pop in and out of character. I'll do that. I might go a couple hours in character and a couple hours out. But yeah, when I'm home, I'm home. I'm just myself. And, you know, but when it's time to prepare for the character, that's who I am. Then there are others that have to stay in character all the time in order to be that. That's specific to me. Is I like to pop in and out of character. It works better for me. I balance better.
Okay.
I mean, does that make sense
what I
to you?
find. No, it makes sense to me, actually. What I'm finding interesting in doing this interview is it's so funny because I have the privilege of knowing you on Facebook and watching your posts and reading what you have to say. And James is very much an approachable, relatable sort of character when it comes to acting, et cetera, and as a person. So what I find ironic is I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm like, oh, my God, you are, like, so serious that it's, like, making me nervous. You sound very, very serious, unlike your persona on Facebook. Because I'm like, I'll read a rant from him, and he's going off, and he's saying, bitch, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's totally me because I rant on Facebook all the time. And now I'm talking to him on this interview, and I'm like, oh, my God, I feel like he's not well. I feel like you're sitting there just waiting to, like, assassinate me or something. You just sound very, very professional.
Never. I'm probably the least serious person you've ever met. I take my interviews serious, and I want to give you the most thorough answers possible. But
I appreciate that.
I'm not that guy.
That's okay. That's all right. Now, as we mentioned, you were an attendee of Baldwin High School. So, of course, because it was difficult for me to try to research the past, I want to kind of delve into this a bit. Some of the actors that I interview have personally gone on and gone to different universities and collegiate activities that would enhance their acting. So, in terms of your education, acting-wise, talk to me a little bit about that, where you did your studies. Did you do studies? Is it all kind of, you know, basically live off the street scenario where it's just I learned the hard way? Or are you actually formally educated in this arena?
Well, I'm going to answer that like this. I wish that I would have gotten an opportunity to go to school and pursue acting even deeper. But every bit of what I've done has actually been, I'm a hands-on kind of learner. And I've just learned everything I have from experience. I've always been comfortable in front of the camera or in front of a group or in front of an audience. And so that, I call it on-the-job training. Everything I've learned, I started out as an extra, so I studied the actors like Christian Bale and Bruce Willis and people that I had a chance to be around, Matthew Broderick, and just try to emulate some of what they did if I could take some of that home with me. And I never really got to attend any kind of class or workshop, and that's probably to my discredit. But I have been able to kind of self-teach myself on how I want to do things, and I think I've adapted my own style. That where if you sit in a class for me, I think I'd be adapting somebody else's style, and that might confuse me or maybe take me off my game a little bit. And that's just my own personal opinion. I think it's great. I actually need to go to school for it. But everything I'm doing, I'm learning on the job, and I'm having the greatest time in the world.
That poses an interesting question, too, because let's say we have ourselves a novice actor who's listening in, or somebody who's first getting into the arena, or somebody who's been doing it for a while. If you were going to influence their decision, let's say they listen to this interview today, in which direction, if you had to be hard-pressed, would you say to someone who's blooming their craft, would you say to them, I would wholeheartedly go to an actor's studio, go here, go there? Would you push them to enhance their education, to make them a better actor, or do you just really feel that it all comes down to inward talent?
I would actually say for them to go to school to pursue it, because they can make you the best you can possibly be, and especially if you get an opportunity to start at a young age. I think you need all the advantages you can in this business, because the one thing that everybody knows for sure is there's no guarantees. So to have as much background behind you coming in, it kind of gives you a little more steam, a little more of a push to move forward. I'm case sensitive to myself. I'm just so motivated that I refuse to quit. I will never give up. But that's not the case for everyone. So I think, like I said, if I had the opportunity to go back and do it again, I certainly would take the class. I think that would give me my best fighting chance in the business. And I would say that to anybody that wanted to start out, to go to the right film school, because there's so many great schools out there.
Okay. Now, would you share for us, because, of course, obviously I'm not privy to knowing this information, but I am curious to ask you if you can remember the very first role you did, and did you walk away from that feeling that, oh, my God, I never want to do this again because I'm so horrid at this? Was it a learning experience for you, or did you walk in one and done, and it was a simplistic process for you?
The absolute first time I acted, you mean?
You bet. Yep.
I would probably be going way back to the 5th grade in a school play that everybody knows called A Christmas Carol, where I played Ebenezer Scrooge's nephew. I can't even talk today. Ebenezer Scrooge's nephew, Fred. And I believe I was probably very horrible that day. I wish I could go back and watch it again, because I can't remember all of it, but I had a lot of fun with it. But I would have to say that, probably not my best day on set. But that definitely was a learning experience, and it showed me that I was happy to get out there and at least try. It was a fun little play to do, and I do vividly remember that. One time we did actually have it on tape, but tape back then was VCR, and sometimes tapes can be damaged. So I don't have that footage to go back and educate myself to, but I do remember it fondly.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, we're going to switch a little bit away from the acting and talk about a couple of other different things that are relative but not quite. First off, spokesperson for Dreamforge Film. I find that interesting that you have merged forces with them, so I want to talk a little bit about your responsibilities as spokesperson, or some of the drill, or some of the things that you do in terms of that. And more interestingly, I wanted to bring up, have you talk about the Visionary World IndieCon, which of course is by Dreamforge Films, or being sponsored by them, or whatever the case may be. So talk a little bit about how you merged with Dreamforge, and then tell us about this Visionary IndieCon, because I bet people would be interested to attend.
Absolutely. With Dreamforge Films, it's a company I got together with about 1.5 years ago, simply by going to an audition and being cast for the upcoming TV series that's still yet to come. It's called Sickness. And I was fortunate enough to land a part in that, and I've been working close with them behind the scenes to the point where we've developed a real good relationship. The company's being run by Martin Patterson, who has a real good head for the business. And so I've started to actually help out in the creative process behind the scenes with that. And so they have done a lot of commercial work in the past, so I'm officially doing their spokesperson commercial for the company. So how to get other companies out there and to learn from the business, and or whatever company, like clothing store, and they just want to get that store out there and market it with commercials. So that's kind of what we're out there doing, trying to bring people in to advertise for themselves. We came up with this idea for the Visionary World IndieCon because we're major advocates of the independent community, the independent film, independent musicians, the people that are on the rise, up and coming. And we don't think that they always get the support or the credit that they deserve. So it would be very much like a Comic-Con, Steel City Con here in Pittsburgh, but it would be more geared toward the independent circuit. So you would have your independent actors, your independent filmmakers, musicians, comedians, etc. And this would be a place to really put their talents on display where people can come and meet them and talk about their films and take pictures and sign autographs and get to know people that are on the rise, that are in the up and coming. And we think it's really going to be a great platform to help them. We wanted to do it this summer, but scheduling conflicts with people that we wanted to bring in weren't helping, so I think it's going to be a nice thing that we're going to do this fall. And it's going to be a real great way to get people's names out there.
You betcha, because I was going to notate, that's okay, I was going to mention to the listening audience the dates, because I know originally it was June 6th and 7th. And I actually had a question for you on this. About the IndieCon itself, because I was thinking about this before I interviewed you, and I thought, well, I'm going to throw this out here if he is directly related to this project, because I was thinking to myself, it's all about exposing independent talent, and I'm huge about doing that on my show, because I interview people that are on TV, not on TV, working their way up, and I thought to myself, I wonder if it would be a cool idea to take my show and match it up with something like this IndieCon, and then this way I could interview independents trying to get out there of all kinds and broadcast live from there, and then the whole world could see all this independent talent and learn about all of them if they can't attend the conference.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be a great idea.
That's
we
a good
want to
thought.
get as many people involved in that, like I said, to get them out there. And what you're doing is a great thing because you are helping the independent community in a major way.
Thank you.
People like myself
Thank
that
you.
are trying to climb the ladder yet, we would appreciate that.
You bet, definitely.
Yeah, but if we could,
well,
if
certainly.
you want to be involved with that, we would love to have you.
Heck yes, that would be terrific. We'll talk about that off the air. And boys and girls, that means once we post it up, that means you need to attend. That means you need to participate. You need to sponsor. And I'm always a huge advocate to say it, so let's say it again. It's all about the independents out there. You got to support your local arts, your actors, your musicians, because they're all broke and they need your help. I shouldn't really say it like that, but it's true.
Action times are key.
You're all broke. Exactly. All right.
That's very true.
Well, let's talk a little bit about another venture that you have, obviously. You're a host of something that they call Sick Talk Cafe. And I read that, and I thought to myself, oh, my God, people are going to think I'm not saying Sick Talk Cafe. But it's true. James Quinn actually hosts a show called Sick Talk Cafe. Tell everybody about the premise of that. Tell them what you talk about in the show, and tell them when they can find out about it, or when they can listen in, rather.
Yeah, certainly. It's actually going to be a lot of fun. We have done our first official episode, but it will be archived shortly. What it's going to do is it's going to air on Ustream. And the TV show I was telling you about, Sickness, this is directly related to that. This is called Sick Talk Cafe. And what it will be is we will air live on Ustream directly after the episodes of the television show airs to talk about the show. We'll be interviewing the other actors from the show, the creative team, the director, to talk about each episode every week. And so it's directly related with it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that The Walking Dead, we're doing a similar thing called The Talking Dead. And I do get to watch The Walking Dead on occasion, but I haven't got to as much as I would like. Cool. So it would be along them lines where it would strictly be dedicated to that show. And like I said, we will air live on Ustream after the shows. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know what? It's probably my phone line again or something dropped for a second. I apologize. Yeah, so and
it happens,
I think it's going to be a great way to get that show out there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm also one of the actors on it, but I'll get to interview the other actors every week that have a significant role in the film.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's a fresh concept. And so
and you'll have to keep me posted on that.
Absolutely.
Sick Talk. How funny, Sick Talk Cafe.
The Sick Talk Cafe, and we'll sit down and we'll have coffee and we'll talk to our guests. And we got a cafe-style atmosphere, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
You betcha. Absolutely awesome. And I love to hear that.
Crossed over into the hosting atmosphere.
Oh, trust me, darling, you're going to learn a whole lot about that. I get away with a lot because I'm on internet radio, which is a different forum. You know, you start going into those other things, and it's like I could never be mandated. I'd like to be able to say the word shit if it slits. Or, you know, not that that's not professional, but sometimes people screw up. Yeah, I mean, and, you know, you want to be professional, but I pride myself on bringing people on. And, you know, I've interviewed, like, the cast of Sons of Anarchy. You can't expect them not to swear. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you know, in real life, that's who they are. You know, you can't censor somebody because you take away from who they are. I think
that's part of the novelty,
and that's not my job. Bingo. Thank you very much. I'm glad you appreciate that.
That's my biggest fear that I may slip, so.
Yes. Now, talk to me a little bit about this because I want to know more about this. There's also something circulating around your name, which is a teen talk show called TTYS. Now, is that something that you have your hands on, or is that just something that you participated in, or tell us what's the story on that?
No, I'm not directly involved with it, but it is a fantastic show. One of the companies that I do work for, that I'm currently doing a TV pilot called Western Avenue, is Right Road Productions, and this is their product. So I always advertise it because it's a great concept. And it's a teen talk show. It's very similar to that you would see at The View, but it's all about the kids in school and the issues that they're having from day to day. And it's aired on Fox Pittsburgh here in Pittsburgh for the last couple months. It's been very successful. So they're talking about the different issues that come up, you know, homecoming and prom and bullying and drug problems, and you know, and here's the big topic that, you know, even the TV censoring, but they don't want them talking about it. But it's, you know, the kids coming to school with drugs and the shootings, and for some reason, you know, the network puts a hold on it and doesn't let you address everything. But there are things that these kids are actually really going through here, especially here, you know, in our own home, but not just in Pittsburgh. It's all around the world. You know, it needs to be talked about. These are all topics, and these kids go through a lot of problems, and it's really nice to see them have a place for an outlet in a positive manner where they can discuss it. And kids that are having problems being bullied at home or have maybe a drug addiction, they get to see that other people are having those same problems too, and they're talking about it. And I think, you know, it would actually lead to better resolution. More kids would watch things like that and come to their parents with their problems and talk about things.
I agree, 150%.
But it is a great show.
It's a great concept.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. Now, speaking of, I want to switch gears a little bit once again. I do that a lot. Why? Because I don't want you to get bored. You might be bored with me. Are you bored yet? Are you bored yet?
Not at all.
Are we bored yet? I hope not. Awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. I'm also a huge believer in the person that I'm talking to right now didn't get to where he is right now without being inspired in part. So I want to talk a little bit about what I foresee is being two major inspirations for you as it relates to your acting. One of which would be your grandfather, the other which would be your daughters. Daughters. I want to be clear.
Daughter, yes. Yep. Just the one.
Yes, okay.
She's amazing.
Yes. So let's talk a minute. Well, first we'll start with your grandfather. I've heard you speak very highly of this individual, and I just wanted to ask how he, in any manner, shape, or form, has kind of influenced you in terms of either your work professionally or on a personal level, which kind of contributes to the character that you are right now.
It's true, and you know, he passed away. Actually, it was 16 years ago today. It's funny you brought that up. And yeah, he was a huge inspiration in my life, and he just taught me not to give up and to always keep pushing. And outside of acting, we worked in a similar field together in the construction industry, and he was an official there. And you know, and he went through a lot of loss before he finally found victory. And that's the one thing he emphasized to me is, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you lose, if you don't give up, you know, eventually you will win. And you know, that's always stuck by me. That's always stuck in my mind, and I'll never forget that.
I thought so, and I just got that feeling in that sense. No. I just got that sense that person had a major influence on who you are and the person that you've become. And, of course, on the flip side of the fence, I'm the first one to admit that I'm nothing without my children. I've seen pictures of you and your daughter. I've seen how she radiates in every photo. I see that she looks like her father. I also see that she was inducted into the National Honor Society recently because Proud Papa had those pictures up. So proud of his daughter, Holla.
Oh, yeah.
She's in the National Honor Society. And you were in Mars Magazine with her, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we both, mine was for the television series I was telling you about, Western Avenue coming up, and they're community magazines here at home in Pittsburgh, and the other was the Bethel Park magazine for her cheerleading team, and we both ended up in the same week. It was just so ironic. It was funny. And so I had to post them together, you know, because I am the proud dad.
Aww.
She's my entire world.
That is absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
so very proud of her.
I gotcha. And of
Oh,
course, we like to emphasize this, or at least Cindy likes to emphasize this point. I think oftentimes the person that you become is in large part because of the partner that you have next to you. So tell us, an actor's wife, how challenging or how tumultuous sometimes can that be in terms of having a life outside of the demands of being in this industry?
Well, it's very challenging, and I'm very fortunate to have the wife I do. She's amazing. I'd say patience is a virtue, and that's very true. Because she has been patient and stuck by me. Because there's times where I've had to go out of town for multiple days at a time, and not to come here and help out with the things I need to do, or maybe we didn't have the alone time. But now, those things are coming around full circle, and it's paying off. But it really helps to have somebody that's supporting you in your corner all the time. Because if you don't, it really doesn't help the success process, that's for sure. So, if you have the family behind you and your wife's behind you or your husband, and I have that. I'm very fortunate to have that. That is key because it makes all the sacrifice worthwhile in the end.
You betcha, absolutely. And since we're talking on the personal side of things, I'm just going to tell you folks that are listening in to us today some personal things about Mr. James Quinn. First of all, he's a fan of Motley Crue. Who doesn't love Motley Crue? He's also a fan of Lisa Marie Presley. That's a little different because that's a little awkward. I'm not going to go there. He likes the Seinfeld, but who doesn't? I was just at the library. You would have been excited. They had a whole season of Seinfeld for $4, my friend. $4. Couldn't believe that one. They call him JQ, or rather, he calls himself JQ, or as we call it, the JQ way. He's a wine drinker. He's a Steelers fan, and he digs on them Jell-O pudding pops that they don't make anymore. And I thought I was the only freak in the world. He likes Jell-O pudding pops. Grown man, Jell-O pudding pops. Back to the Future, and my personal favorite, OMG on the WWE.
Oh, long time fan there. Yeah, you're right.
What
Those
up with
are
that?
pretty much all my favorites. And just for personal reference,
look at that.
those pudding pops are still available. Not the Jell-O.
Oh my God, no,
they
they're
make
not.
them in a brand called
No.
United. They're not quite as good, but they do give you the fix you need. And I actually picked up a box last night.
Serious?
It's funny you brought that up.
Serious? How funny.
For the most part, I'm a health
on
nut,
Facebook.
but I do have a weakness for the pudding pops.
I knew it because you were all ranting. He's all ranting on Facebook. Like, can you believe that they don't do Jell-O pudding pops anymore? And I'm like, dude, it's a Jell-O pudding pop. But he has, he's a little worked up about that. And now we find out that they do have pudding pops. So thank you for that, 411. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so tell me about the WWE.
Absolutely.
Because, folks, let me just share this with you. He actually did a production, and it's called Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies. Here he is standing next to Roddy Piper. Wow. You got a cool day job, man.
Oh, yeah. Roddy Piper is one of my all-time favorites. So it was a very surreal moment to be able to work next to him on that film set. And I've just been a huge wrestling fan since I was 12. And so that took me right back to, the 80s, which will show my age a little bit. But that was a great fun time for me in that business because there was colorful characters and gimmicks back then. And Roddy Piper was such a huge part of that. And the movie itself was just, a great concept because so many kids and people love the pro wrestling, and they absolutely love zombies. And to combine the two of them was just a unique deal to be able to be a part of that, too. It was my first time being a zombie.
I saw the pictures, actually. It was really cool. And I was thinking to myself, my boys used to like WWE quite a bit. And then I got shattered. They came home the other day, and my 8-year-old's like, Mom, it's just not real. He just matter of fact, like, Mom, it's just not real. And I'm like, there went the magic. They used to believe all that good stuff. I'm a huge Triple H fan myself. I'm not going to lie about that. I am a closet WWE fan, but don't tell anybody. Shh. Because, people are going to think I'm kind of strange. But it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And I think that what people don't seem to realize is that, the physicality part of it, they are very responsible for. I mean, they work out. They do, they are masters at their own passion. You know what I mean? Even though it is scripted, even though that goes on, it's still a very physical sport. And kudos to those guys. I'd love to interview them. I think it would make for an amazing interview. And I also saw that you got HBK's book. I've met him. Really nice guy. Really, really like Shawn Michaels a lot. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels is my all-time favorite talent. I don't think anybody could ever beat what he did in the ring. It was just amazing to watch him. It was a work of art.
Oh, my God, yes, without a doubt, certainly. Now, if people want to watch Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, is it available? Is it out there? Tell them a little bit about, I mean, obviously you get the premise here. Everybody can kind of figure out that there's zombies in there. It's kind of a horror slash wrestling slash. Where do we find it? How do we watch it? Can we watch it?
Yes, actually it is out there. I know that there were still limited copies available on Amazon.com. You can get the DVD there. And I found out recently that they have partnered up with Stroma Productions, so that they will be reproducing it, and I guess a mass production with it coming up here soon in the coming months. I don't know the exact dates, so don't quote me, but you can get the original copies on Amazon right now and on their website. There's a Facebook page for Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, and I know that they had plenty available there. So just to see the original copies front in itself, and now with Stroma involved, I know that they are putting some more scenes in there to to get production out there, and it's going to be great because they have such a huge track record and following, so that'll really help sales.
You bet. Right. And, of course, I guess I have to ask the obvious question because I love my kiddos, and they're coming home soon today, and I thought to myself, I wonder if this is content that they could watch because they like Pro Wrestlers and they like Zombies. Is it a little over and above? Because my boys are like 8 and 10, so I'm asking before I actually put it on or watch it.
Well, I'd say, the original version would be the one that I would show them. I'll say that.
Okay.
Because there may be some content coming in that maybe not suitable for the age. It all depends on the parent coming up with the new edition. But yeah, with the original edition, it could be a lot of fun for everybody.
I understand. I get it. Okay, good deal. Now, before we start talking about the rest of your acting career, I want to just sidetrack a little bit and let people know that that's not the only thing in your career outside of being a host and outside of being involved in all these different projects, merging up with a film company. In the past, James Quinn has also done commercial work, which is not unlike most actors that are out there and first kind of biting their teeth and getting out there and doing such. Talk to me a little bit about, like I recently saw that you had notated your commercial for NYMEL. Tell me a little bit about the differences, meaning if I were to ask you commercial-wise, from a commercial standpoint, doing commercials, do you prefer that sort of work in some ways? Because, of course, what people, I say this all the time, they don't realize, you get cast for a part or you're in a production, you don't just show up there, shoot your scenes. The minute you get there, you get all prepped, do your makeup, they shoot you, and you're done. I think people think that that's what Hollywood is all about, and that's not it. A lot of times it's 13, 14, 15 hours on a set, waiting to do one line or doing this or that. So tell us how things vary commercial-wise in the commercial world versus the film world. And do you prefer doing the short shot versus something like that?
Well, yeah, in the commercial world, if you have a lot going on in life and you don't want to be tied up for weeks at a time, that is great, to be able to get in and out in just a day or two. But like you said, you hit on it. It could be 12, 14, 15-hour days. And the one thing that's great for commercial work, especially for aspiring actors and young actors and people climbing the ladder, because this is the one thing, you'd end up working for free a lot of times building your resume. You get paid pretty well on commercials. And so that's a benefit to the rising actor or the climbing actor. I enjoy all aspects of film and television, but more than anything, I prefer film to everything. It is a longer process. It can be drawn out, but commercial work is a lot of fun, and it really gets your name out there locally, too. You're seen in front of your local audiences at home, for the most part, during commercials, unless you're fortunate enough to land a national commercial, in which case you'll be seen by everyone. But yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, but you're right on the money. Long days, and there's a lot involved, and, you're either in or you're not. And, to me, it's all great. I can't wait to be there.
Well, and the other part of the equation is, I'm blunt, so I have no filter. So, of course, for me, I just gripe about whatever I feel like. So I'll ask you this question. I'm the first one to admit, because I'm an author first. I know most people recognize me now for this radio gig, but and truth be told, of course, I just do anything that involves me to write, because that really is my passion. So I ask you this question, because this drives me insane. It drives me nuts. I watch some of these commercials, and I say to myself, on my worst day, after 5 glasses of wine, could I write a better commercial than that? So I ask you, as a person who's been involved on the other side of the camera, have you ever just watched something or saw something get produced and think to yourself, they've put millions of dollars into this ad concept, and the reality is it's just not that good? I mean, do you think commercials as a whole, using as a means of marketing and promotion for a company or an entity or otherwise, the quality of the material has somehow gotten away from it, or they've gotten away from producing quality material within the course of a commercial?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have to agree on your end. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, so there absolutely have been times where I've filmed something or I've watched something being filmed, and I said to myself, "Oh man, this is crap." But I've never, I don't ever come out and say what it was that I thought that about. But it does happen, and it happens all the time. And I think, maybe sometimes, companies will lose sight of what's really selling out there and what the audience is really looking for, because they're going by something that worked in the past. And I think you really need to evolve and change with the times in order to appeal to your audience. And so, yeah, I mean, if they don't evolve and if they don't change with their audience, then, naturally, a lot of people are sitting at home and they're going to say, oh, man, that's crap.
I agree. Definitely.
So
well, thank you for that. See, I thought it was just
you're
me.
Not going to fool them.
See? Bingo. Exactly. Which brings me to talking about something very exciting. You at one time have been a three-way capacity, meaning writer, producer, and director, for a project called Distant Mingle. So tell me about that. Tell me what made you want to direct and produce a project. Tell me if you wrote it, and then tell me if it's accessible to the public yet.
It was Cindy, it was an opportunity to get involved in everything, because we entered a 24-hour film competition, and we actually did this in Cleveland, Ohio. And so, you only have 24 hours from the time your topic's given to you, to generate your topic. They give you a couple of things that have to be implemented. In our case, it was an egg and time travel. And so, and then you have 24 hours to basically put that together, write it, direct it, film it, edit it, and have it uploaded in time for it to meet the competition criteria. And so it's very, very challenging. And I only got to do a little tiny bit of the writing on it, but it was fun. And I got to help direct it. And I actually acted in it. I was one of the three actors that were in it. So it was a lot of fun, but you're juggling a lot of hats. And, I do prefer acting and everything, but I love writing when I get an opportunity. But it was up on YouTube last I checked. It was something we did and then put online and entered into the competition for New York. It was a lot of fun, but I think I would prefer, if I had to do it again, to do the 48-hour, because I think the 48-hour competition allows people more time to prepare from on all levels. But the 24 was fun. It challenges you. You get to learn what you want to do and then again what you don't want to do.
That's absolutely awesome. And I have nothing but the utmost of respect for any individual, because, of course, like I mentioned, I'm starting my first film, and I don't think people realize how challenging it can be when you do not have the backing and the support of a major production house or studio, or if you're doing everything in-house, if you the countless hours and the begging for, help and volunteers and favors and the whole nine yards. People don't realize preserving the art of art, as I call it, is just so challenging. I don't think people realize that. It's almost very discouraging, actually. So I want you to address the listening audience on this. Having been a producer, director, a writer, an actor, you've done all these different hats. What if someone is out there and listening and they're saying to themselves, I have a great idea, but I'm scared to death, and the chances are no one's ever going to want to see it, no one's ever going to want to watch it, nobody's going to believe in me. What would you say to someone like that right now?
Well, if that was their thought process, I would say, first off, you have to change your thought. If it's something you really believe in, you got to get it out there. You got to push it almost to the point where, people are tired of seeing it. I mean, you want to get it out there. I'm a self-promoter for sure. That's been well established, and I think anybody at the independent level has to be. I think you need to get the drive to want to do it. And one of the things you might want to do is maybe partner up with somebody that's a little more experienced than you, or somebody that has a little bit of a resume that can help you get that out there, because social media is key, especially in the independent world, and getting your projects out there. And you need to be able to convince investors that they want to go with you. They want to see positive, and they want to see that you're just not going to stop, and they want to see great ideas. And that's, you want to come up, and that's the trouble a lot of people have is coming up with fresh ideas, something that hasn't been recycled and something unique,
I agree with you, 150%. Thank you. Now, I want to go over and talk a bit about Hell's Reckoning. Was a short film that you did, actually. I find it interesting with the short films how, and people don't, I think, realize this sometimes too, you can do a short film, and then most often people will say to you, why would you want to be involved in a short film when feature films really have the point and purpose? You have the time to actually go from point A to point B to point C and get your synopsis in and out. Whereas with a short film, you're taking a lot of content and obviously pushing it in a shorter time frame. So talk to me a little bit about, in this short film, Hell's Reckoning, your character in there, and then how do you feel that your performance in this short film contributed to it becoming a better film? Because I'm always big on accountability. I always want to ask an actor, well, what did you do in that film that made it superb? So I'm shining that light on you, James. Go.
Sure. Well, I mean, specific to short films right now, I love them. Some people don't like to do them, but I think in a way they can be even more challenging than doing a feature film because you have to be able to tell a story in a lot less amount of time. And a lot of times people are doing a short film because in the back of their mind, their idea is to make it a feature film later. And sometimes at the independent level, the best way, if you don't have the biggest resume or you haven't produced a lot of things on your own yet, the best way to get your name out there is with that short film and let them see what you made and see if they want to help you invest. The short films are a great idea. I mean, they're great for your resume. They're great for your demo reels when you can get your footage. On Hell's Reckoning, I got to play a pastor named Seth Thomas. And he's basically running from this creature, a Sinite. He lost his... You don't see in the full story because the feature film is something that they're working on. Is he had lost his wife recently and his child in an accident, and the Sinite shows up, which is pretty much the damned. They're trying to end the world. It's hell, for lack of a better term, taking over the world. And my guy, the way that he can stop this from happening is just to try to kill these things, but they can come back to life unless you read them their last rites, and that's kind of what I was doing there in that film and the story we were trying to convey there. And so I think, in a way, it was a little bit of a faith piece, and that was something that I was looking to do, something I wanted to really jump into as a faith-based type film. And, yeah, there is a Sinite and there is horror involved, but to be able to add that element of faith in there, too, is a little more challenging. And I think that was something that, I took away a good experience from that because now I know what I want to do down the road in order to, accomplish that goal.
I hear you. I get you. Now let's talk a little bit about film and television, just to name, so you folks, if you happen to be out and about either on Amazon or YouTube or you're looking for getting more of a fix for James Quinn. From the TV side of things, the two things I wanted to focus on, Western Avenue and Those Who Kill. Your films, obviously, just to name a couple different ones. Obviously, we mentioned the Dark Knight Rises and Pro Wrestlers, If I Could Talk Today, versus Zombies. The other side, Meltdown and the Underground Railroad. So in terms of combining just both the TV and the film and acting as a whole, so two different questions in reference to that. First of all, in terms of the TV side of things, Western Avenue in particular, excuse me, are you finding now, because you've had TV experience and in my just perusal of some of the different things you've done in the past, your experience lies more so in the film area versus the television area. So I want to know, do you intend to expand out on your TV experience? And then second of all, are you finding that people are coming to you more so now for roles on television versus you having to continually pitch to get the role?
I do. Television is something that, I'm trying to cross over more to. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a few different series. And Western Avenue, I think, is going to be a really great way to do that because I'll be playing one of the lead undercover detectives, one of the leads. And so we should get a lot of really good exposure on that. And it is a different element because you're dealing with commercial break. And you have X amount of time to do things, and there are certain guidelines you can't cross over to that you can do in film. So there are a lot of restrictions in television, but I love it. And I just, to do something here, and it's based right here in my home in Pittsburgh, to be able to do that. And a lot of it is, surrounding Pittsburgh. So it's a series that we're all really looking forward to. It's in the early stages of pre-production right now, but before the year's over, we will be getting back to shooting, and a lot of big things to come with it soon down the road here.
Cool. Very cool. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Now on the film side of things,
yes.
Here's what I want to know, or here's the big question in terms of that. On any film set, have you ever had issues? I think that people always glamorize the fact that, excuse me, oh my God, he's doing a movie and it must be such an exciting prospect because he gets to meet all these great people and this and this and this. So let's talk about the downside a little bit. Have you ever been on a film set and thought to yourself, you know what, I was completely not cast right for this role. I'm not comfortable with this project. Or have you ever done a role where you were completely out of your shell? You know what I mean? Like, I'm so not liking doing this role, but I have to do it sort of scenario. I think people don't realize that the best actors are completely going against their grain. When they have to play a nice guy when all they're used to is a bad guy, like a American Gangster, let's say, with Denzel Washington, and having to be the complete direct opposite of what he's normally cast as.
Very true. I had early on, been cast for some things where you question, was this the best role for me, or should I just take this role because I really need to get myself out there? And basically, you just have to open yourself up to the fact that, A, you're out there doing it, and it is a challenge, and it may be showing your range a little bit more, like you said, by going against the grain and doing something that maybe isn't in your comfort zone. And so I think, that makes you for a better actor later, for sure.
Okay, I've gotcha. And if I were to ask you, again, this is back to the film set, obviously, and I know that I'm never supposed to ask this question because you're going to say, of course, well, I can't just pick one, but I'm making you. If I were to ask you, name two of the best actors you've ever worked next to that you thought to yourself, I want to be like them or I parallel them in some way, and then name for me probably the best director you've ever worked with so far.
So we're going to narrow that down. Okay, well, let me look. Some of the best actors that I've gotten to work around, one for sure, when I did, what the film used to be called The Underground Railroad, and now it's being called Before the Border, and it's scheduled to come out, I think, later this year, actually. But I had the privilege of working next to an actor in the New York area, actually, named Nicholas Guest, who is an amazing actor. That the positive that he brought to set, it rubbed off on me in a great way, and then to see the range that he had, and we got to do all of our scenes together. And if you don't know Nicholas, one of his better roles that you can remember him in was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He was Chevy Chase's new neighbor. And and he's just an amazing actor, and become a really good friend, and somebody that I had a great time working with. It's versatile in so many ways that you can't help but learn something from somebody like that.
Oh, you betcha. Without a doubt, I agree with you.
And if you look at other, again, Christian Bale comes to mind, or Bruce Willis. I mean, those were guys that I gotten to see them in action personally, even though I didn't have, big scenes with them. And those guys really, if you can watch what they're doing and take something out of it, because there's a lot to learn from people like that. Director-wise, so many great directors out there, but I think of some of the independent directors that I've gotten to work with here in Pittsburgh, and right now with Right Road Productions and my upcoming feature film, Code Black, Jillian O'Neill, she's absolutely amazing. Chris Nespozansky, who did The Other Side, this guy is on cue all the time, professional, knows his shots inside and out and what he wants to do. And these are people that I would work with time in and time out again. You can't help but learn from them. The professionalism just oozes off of them.
And, of course, we love to name drop on the show. That's part of the reason I ask these questions, because probably a lot of these individuals do not know, a lot of these actors, directors, etc. So my last question before we talk about your work that's coming out in the near future is to ask you this. Do you feel that as an actor you have had an impression or have motivated or inspired another actor?
I don't want to get into bragging about or arrogance. I don't want it to come off that way, but I have had a few people, reach out to me in recent months, and they did actually tell me those exact words that just made my positiveness rub off on them, and I was kind of taken back by it. And they seen that I never gave up, and now they were having some hard times with auditions, and they told me, and they had asked me for some tips, but I did the best to tell them, my way of doing things, but inevitably it has to be their own. But they have told me that, the style that I've told them about, or, the approach that I've taken has helped them. And I'm glad if I can help one person, that's fantastic. But it's such a tough game.
Yes, of course it is. Absolutely, 150%. I agree with you. But I just thought I'd throw that out there, because sometimes you just don't realize it until someone makes you look back and you say to yourself, oh, yeah, I did that. That was the whole creation of the show. I really hope I touch someone. I really, really hope I touch somebody, or somebody hears something I say, or somebody's moved or made better or happier. Let's hope. any luck at all.
Well, you
all
definitely
right.
are. I've
So
had the privilege to listen to some of your shows, and, you know, I mean, you definitely have that positive atmosphere, and you make it comfortable for your guests, so you absolutely do that.
Thank you. Oh, no, I'm blushing.
Oh,
Cut it out.
welcome.
This isn't
Thank
about
you.
It's me. It's about you. You're quite welcome. Now, I want to just have you talk to the listening audience about some of this new work that you have coming out, and then we'll wrap up a couple of things here. And, God, this time went fast. Doesn't it seem like it just went like
It
fast?
does.
It's like crazy.
It does.
That's a good thing.
Yep, an hour goes a lot quicker than you would think.
I know, right? All right, so a couple different things I want to have you touch on for the folks that's coming out in 2015. You have two different productions, which is Mason and Sickness, and I understand you just accepted a TV role for something called Southern Fried Homicide, assuming you could talk about that as well. So tell the folks what they can expect coming up here down the pike.
Well, Sickness, is something that we have been working on. Again, that and the Talk Cafe go hand in hand, and something that we're pitching to the local networks here in Pittsburgh. But we're also reaching out outside of Pennsylvania, too, to see who's interested. But we have a pilot that's been pretty well shot and almost edited. So we got it to the point where we think it's going to be, a really cool product, and we'd love to get it on the air this year. But if not, I would say 2016 at latest. It's, post-apocalyptic type show without the zombies, of course, but you have a family on the run that's running from the sickness, if you will, and so it leads for a lot of excitement. Every episode, they're constantly on the run, and something new's happening. They're running into new people, and who can you trust? And Mason was a great opportunity for me. That was a period piece that we did. It dates back to it's a fictional piece from the George Washington days, and I actually got the honor of playing the assassin, Jacob Quick, who is the would-be assassin, if you will, that tries to kill President Washington. But I'll have to let people see that. We were pitching that for network.
Right.
My understanding, it's now going to become a web series. So they have full backing to do so on that. And so I would look for that series to come out probably later in the year, if not early next year. But the pilot episode is available on YouTube already, and it's, again, called Mason, and it comes from Dangerwood Productions.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now we have just a couple things to square up before I let you off of my podium here, because some of us have to go to my new store and, get that together, because, of course, I'm opening this new storefront, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, I'm going to run through and read this off, so just let me know. Thank you. Let me know if I forget anything about this, just so you folks know. James Quinn can be found on the following venues. First of all, he has a personal Facebook page, which is, of course, James Quinn, and you'll note it's James Quinn in Pennsylvania, because there's more than one James Quinn that pops up, just so you know. Also, he has the JQ Way, which is a secondary page on Facebook, which lets you know about all of his roles, everything going on. He's even kind enough to give us daily, what I would call Quinnisms, so to speak, or daily thoughts or daily shots or whatever the case may be there. On Twitter, at the JQ Way. He also can be found on Instagram. Facebook, of course, Sick Talk Cafe, as you had mentioned prior to that. And there's also a Facebook page for the Visionary World IndieCon that we had referenced earlier. Also YouTube, and also Amazon.com. And he, of course, has an IMDb profile. Any other place that folks can find you on social media?
You know what? I think you pretty much summed it all up. Some of them I might have even forgotten about, so that's awesome. Thank you, Cindy.
See, that's my job, my dear. It's called journalism. Second of all,
very hard to keep up with
before I wrap. Oh, thank you. Second of all, I don't want to forget to bring up these two opportunities too, or actually three. And then the last part of my show, if you've listened to my show, you already know what's coming, which is I get to tell you what I think of you. And then you get to get the hell off my show so I can go and take care of my store.
There you go.
First opportunity is I will certainly speak to John Gallagher, because I think, the bar I've set pretty high for John Gallagher is he's an amazing filmmaker, and he is always, always, always big on promoting independent people, independent projects, and of course he is an actor's director, which I don't say very often because I don't get to work with a lot of them directly. So I will definitely do my best to try to help you in that regard. On a more personal level, I am shooting, the goal is 4 films in 3 years. Yes, I'm crazy, but I'm an overachiever. And I would be more than pleased and more than honored if you would consider doing something in one of them. That would make me very happy. So that's out there for you. Third of all, I want to throw this out to you because you are a friend to actors and directors alike. One of the components of my new storefront is I have a theater room, and my intention is, and literally I will be showing independent films, features, shorts, Only independent filmmakers, not the huge box office, Steven Spielbergs of the world, because he'll probably sue me. And it's not that I don't love them. It's that I am a fan and a follower of an independent filmmaker. And so if you know of anyone, or even if I could get your film shown within the course of my theater room, I would be more than happy to work with you or friends that you have to promote their work within the course of my cute little storefront. When I'm not showing Charlie Chaplin, because he's my favorite. So that's another opportunity throwing out there. And third of all, of course, as I prefaced earlier, I would be delighted to come and to bring my show and open the format up to where we could be constantly interviewing independent actors and filmmakers at a platform such as the IndieCon. So if you can help to orchestrate that, I would be thrilled. So what do you think of that?
I think, Cindy, you're
Are you
absolutely
alive?
amazing.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
I am. It's a lot to take in. That was amazing. First off, I would be absolutely honored to help you out in any way I can with any of your upcoming films that you would have. I would always want to take a look at that and see if I can help you. You're definitely a true friend and an amazing host. I would love to have you at Visionary World setting up. I think that would be an amazing deal if you have the time in the fall and the dates coincide. I think that's going to be great for independents all over. I think not just on the East Coast, but the West Coast, all around. There's a lot of people aspiring that need to get out there, and I think what you're doing is definitely along the right lines to get them out there. If you can't do it, you know what I mean?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I try very hard to do so.
And then as far as Mr. Gallagher, thank you for putting me in front of that. Would be an absolute honor of mine as well. And your storefront, I could definitely recommend people to help you out with that, and you could be able to help them out in turn, I think that's great.
Yeah,
in fact,
exactly.
I want to wish you the best of luck on your store. It sounds like a great idea that you have going on, and I think people will enjoy it.
Certainly. And I will certainly forward the information over to you as far as the store goes, because you're certainly more than welcome to come. I know that I'm in Wisconsin and you're in Pennsylvania, so I know that we're far from each other, but you just never know. You might end up all of a sudden saying, I want to take a road trip or whatever the case may be. And I'm just absolutely huge on merging all of my friends. My intention is to take that storefront just as I do my radio show and try to help all of my friends in one fashion or another. Because,
know what? It
despite
just so
what people
happens
might think.
I'm in Milwaukee, so I may actually get to do that for you.
Yay! That's absolutely awesome. And I think what's the dying art and what people need to get out of this show in particular, this interview we did, is it is encouraged constantly by me, by you, by others that we know. I hate the fact that this industry has become as such, where you have actors competing against other actors, directors against other directors. If everyone would embrace everyone else's work and work together instead of constantly having to pit against each other, imagine the beauty that would come across on screen, across on TV screens, in business, instead of being so worried about who's better than who makes more money than who. Isn't it supposed to be about working together to promote each other's talent? Just my thought.
You're 110% correct. You're 110%. I say
and
that all the time.
I'm not in
you
Hollywood.
need to support one another. No, I say it all the time. There's not enough support for each other, and you need to do that.
Well, and that's just it. And I know this is why I'll never be. I mean, people always say to me all the time, they're like, oh, you should be on a national level. Well, we all know why I'm not, because I don't give the Hollywood answer. I don't give the whole, well, it's got to be about making $1 million this year. No, it has everything to do with promoting each other. You don't have an art if you don't have actors. Without actors, you don't have films. It's a circular sort of thing, I should say. And unfortunately, I'm just never going to be Hollywood. And that's exactly why, because I just refuse to follow the game. I refuse to play the game. I think that you can make great productions without being so political. Just my 5 second on my soapbox, sorry. So the last thing I'm going to do with you,
I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you. So we're very like-minded in that regard. So the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to let you get back to your beautiful family and your beautiful day, and I got to go do my storefront, or we won't have a storefront with a theater room because I'm going to put my theater seats in today. Very excited. Let me just tell the world what I think of James Quinn, and I'm losing my voice now. So thanks to you, I won't be able to yell at my kids, and I'm sure they'll be thanking me later. So I'm just going to give my impressions. I know people think this is quirky, but I'm like, you know what? How many other people in the media do you ever find giving their sole impressions of the person they just interviewed? I do this not just because you need to hear it, but more importantly because I think the listening audience, who's only gotten a small glimpse of what the actor James Quinn is really like, gets to find out that even though I've never met you, this is the lasting impression you have upon me, and it's the same impression that they should have of you. So here we go. First thing I learned about James Quinn was he's actually not a prima donna. And that I cannot say about everyone that I interview. I start out always giving the utmost of faith and confidence in every person that comes onto my show. I went to James because I had to on a very personal level, and it may seem unprofessional, but I had to curtail my show and say, hey, I got other responsibilities and other things that are going on. He was the pinnacle of politeness and kindness, and he had such a way about him that made me feel that he was already my friend without even coming on my show. I've been privy to looking at some of his pictures, some of his storytelling, and some of his pinnacles, and some of his rises and success as it relates to his acting. And this is what I've learned about him. He is, just as I say John Gallagher is an actor's director, he is a director's actor, if that makes sense to everybody who's listening. I undoubtedly can think to myself when he walks onto a set, he is pleasant, he's polite, he's accommodating, he knows his material, he knows the manner in which he wishes to do his performance, and he is pleasing to the people next to him and pleasing to the camera as well. I'm not going to lie to you folks, and no offense to the missus, but let's face it, Mr. Quinn is not ugly on the eyes. He carries a style and a finesse about him that makes you fall in love with him. Why? Because he can act, and he uses that charm, and he uses that cute little face of his to kind of draw you in, and he draws in very well. He is 100% all about the independent performance, and I couldn't be more delighted to broadcast to the world that, hey, this is my friend James Quinn. He supports independent film, independent art. And that, as I said, I cannot stress enough how it's a dying breed and how we need people like you to be out there championing for the cause of creatives all over the place, from Pittsburgh to you name it, from in and out of country. I think it's important that we have people like you out there because you are grounded, because you've kept your humility, and because you are always honored to be stepping onto a set, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a feature film, whether it's a short film or your own film. All I can say to you is I am honored by the fact that you came onto my very little show to showcase your very big life. I can only wish you the best of luck. I can only hope that you will stay in contact with me and you will help me make my dreams come true, because it would truly be a dream to be standing on a stage with you and watching you do what you love and do it in the manner by which you do it. That's it.
Cindy,
that's all I got for you.
I'm completely taken back and speechless. You're too kind for words,
God.
that's for certain. And it's been my
Thank
absolute
you so
pleasure
much.
to be on your show today. And I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Oh, definitely. You have
it would be a wonderful thing to do. And
certainly.
And we will stay in touch, and I appreciate everything you've done.
Oh, of course. With any luck at all, like I said, certainly everything that I talked to you about, let's touch base afterwards and try to figure out what we want to do about all these different ventures. And then this way, then once we get on the same page together, things will flow very nicely. And certainly don't be a stranger. And I certainly will hope that I get invited to some kind of premiere or like some lead actor thing. And I'm going to be like, when I was just doing my little radio show, there's that big guy. And I knew he was going to be something special the minute he came on my show. And oh, look, you already are something special. So I was right.
Well, I thank you. It's absolutely been my pleasure, and I think we can make sure that all of that happens. I think it's definitely doable, and it's a plan.
I like the yes, definitely. All right, my dear friend, will you enjoy your weekend? Enjoy your time with your daughter and your wife. Best of luck to you, and like I said, just reach out to me, and we'll get things worked out. And thank you for coming on.
Cindy, I thank you. It's been my pleasure, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Anytime, my dear. You take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Fabulous, right? Am I just getting, so good on picking out the major talent in the city? Well, not my city, but in the world. Let's just put it that way. So to reiterate one more time, Mr. James Quinn, the inevitable Mr. James Quinn. You can find him, IMDb profile. You can rather purchase or see his work, Amazon.com or YouTube. Obviously, of course, he's got a personal Facebook page as well as the JQ Way. Twitter handle is at the JQ Way. He also can be found on Instagram, I believe via his name. I should have clarified that for you. And, of course, Facebook pages for the two projects here. We've got Sick Talk Cafe, which he is actually hosting in that capacity, talk show. And, of course, the Visionary World IndieCon. As you might have heard him mention to you, of course, they are going to be delaying that just a wee bit to get everything together. So watch for details on that. Just as a heads up for radio for next week, before I announce my lineup, I just wanted to say to everybody who's listening in, first off, thank you so much for all the positive thoughts and prayers and text messages and notes about my son. Just as a heads up, we will be getting results today as it relates to where he stands and all that. So I ask for just your continued support and thoughts and prayers on that. And second of all, once again, thanks again for all the notes as it relates to my own personal health. I know you all have been ragging at me, and yes, I will be going to the doctor next week, and we'll keep you posted as far as that goes. So far, what we have confirmed for next week, I will be doing a Tuesday show. It's a to be determined because we haven't firmed that up as of yet. Wednesday the 29th, and we have that at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Pastor Bird is an individual from New York City that's hoping to help the homeless. And so we're going to talk about homeless in the New York City area and what she's doing to help prevent that. And then, of course, another one of Michael Stover's lovelies, which is 2 o'clock Central Time. Musicians, March to May, Thursday the 30th, 2 o'clock. We'll talk to you then. You guys have yourself a great weekend. I'm going to go rest my voice and go work on my new shop. Thanks all.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.